Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The situation of Rohingya Muslims, everybody knows. I'm sure that there has been so much publicity about it that no one has the excuse that they don't know about. Sitting in Washington, D.C., this is an issue which is discussed in the White House, in State Department, in different institutions, and then we are at the same time bombarded with so many emails from all over. Some of you may know that we have Muslim Rohingya population in America itself. But the situation that is going on in Burma is really extremely upsetting and devastating just to hear the details. So I am really proud that we were able to put together a panel here of people who are committed to this issue and are strategically involved. And they also have given this issue a very high priority in their work and in their lives in that sense. So I don't think we will read the bios because you have with you, and many of them are very prominent people who are already known to our community. So the only thing what I will do is, if you look at the names, we have Ambassador Ufuk and T. Kumar is not here. We have Ambassador Congressman Tom Andrews here, and we have Imam Abdul Malik Mujahid. So none of those three is a Rohingya. Did you know that? None of them is from Burma. But we have only one who is a true Rohingya, that is Dr. Waqaruddin. And he is the president of several organizations that are associated with Burma and with Rohingya in particular. So he is he chairs he's a professor at Penn State University. He's the Director General of Arakan Rohingya Union, founding president of Burmese Rohingya Association of North America, and he's also president of Muslim Aid North America. I will request Professor Waqaruddin first to make his presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saeed, for the introduction. Thank you very much to ISNA for helping us organize this event. I'm going to give you a little overview, context on this issue on Rohingya in Myanmar. We, the Rohingya community, are fortunate now to have the Muslim Ummah around the world standing by us and support of the international community, even big countries like United States, European Union, United Nations, OIC, Organization of Islamic Cooperations, and many other Arab countries and Muslim countries. 57 member states of OIC has recognized our Rohingya Union, which is a global Rohingya confederation organization representing over 60 Rohingya organizations worldwide. So we are the voice of Rohingya people. Alhamdulillah, we'd like to continue to work. Our Rohingya Union will continue to work with global community and activists and leaders inside Myanmar, Rohingya leaders, for the cause of Rohingya through preferably diplomatic solutions, through dialogue, peace and reconciliation. Who are the Rohingya people? Question goes, Rohingya people are ethnic minority. I must stress the word ethnic. Ethnic minority in Western Arakan State, Rakhine State of Burma. Rohingya people are ethnic minority because they have the roots in the region. The Rohingya people in Burma existed before the country of Myanmar existed, before the country of Burma existed, before the British came in, before Anoyata, Vodapaya, all this Burmese king ruled the nation. Rohingya people were there. You can trace back the history of Rohingya to 7th and 8th century in Burma. You can look at the slide there, in the middle picture there, the two pictures. Top one is a 14th century mosque in Arakan. The roots of Islam, roots of Rohingya. 14th century mosque right now existing. Below that picture you will see the mihrab. The imam will be sitting there. They put Buddhist statue. They've converted that mosque to temple. And that mihrab has Buddhist statue sitting there. As Rohingya history has changed. That dark phase of Rohingya history has entered. The dark period of Rohingya history has entered in 1962. Rohingya people were targeted by the military for extermination. They want to clean up our state, which has nearly 50% then, about 50% Muslim population, Rohingya in our state. They want to reduce it to zero. By all means. Then they can make a pure Buddhist state, or with all Rakhine in Burma, all Buddhist, no Muslims. They started ethnic cleansing. They started with major human rights violations. Rohingya were citizens of Myanmar, Burma. From the very beginning, they have NRC cards. NRC means National Registration Certificate. I still have one. They didn't get a chance to confiscate mine. I was growing up, I was living. They have confiscated all the national registration cards over time, since 1962 until 1982. And in 1982, they instituted, military government instituted a controversial, highly controversial, in 1982 citizenship law. International community, and we call it a black law. The Rohingya people were denied citizenship. They confiscated NRC cards, citizenship was revoked, and then disqualified Rohingya from citizenship because it was not recognized in an ethnic minority anymore. That's how they started. But they have various means, various ways of how to reduce the population objectively to zero. So they have forced out people. During that period, they have several operations. We call it operations. One's called Nagami CCA in 70s. Nagami means dragon. Burmese, the nationalism, the symbol of nationalism, Buddhist nationalism. The Nagami CCA, and then in Gulong CCA. And all these operations were done to remove the population, to force out the population to other countries. Now, Rohingya people have nearly 50% Rohingya people are living overseas. They're forced out of their own land. Only about 1.4, 1.5 million Rohingya left in our country. Now, they are satisfied with that number, still too high for them. So now, they have started different strategies to further reduce the Rohingya population. So, what happened then? The violence broke out in 2012. You have seen in news media, killing of people, burning the villages, burning the house, all kind of violations, mass murders of Rohingya. Why 2012? What happened? Why they didn't do it past 50 years since Rohingya citizenship were revoked? Then all of a sudden, 2012, in June, it started violence. It's all planned. Why that time? 2010, October, there was an election. Burma is moving toward democracy. Whether pure democracy or superficial fake democracy, we don't know yet. But Burma is claimed to be moving toward democracy. So democracy comes to the country, human rights will come with it. If you have really access of democracy, you will have human rights. So that's what's going to happen. Rohingya people will be entitled to their rights. So this has become a big headache for the nationalists, purists, Buddhist radicals, including the hardliners in the government. So they have created instability. They want to destabilize Arkan state so that there will be mass population movement, either internally or go into other countries. So that's how the things got started, violence started, pre-planned violence. You know what is there as of today? There are several violence took place. Several violence took place. It goes in peaks. Each time you look at the news media, you look at the internet, how this violence, about 20, 30, 40 different violence over time, big ones came up. Each time you will see there's an allegation of rape. That's the best tool they can use. Through preaching hate by monks through social media, and through the words of mouth. They attacked Mandalay, central Burma, with the same allegation. Now all this allegation turned out to be false, but it comes later. And they don't care. As soon as they can trigger a violence, they reach their objectives. So that's what's happening. The major tool is that they will be using, they have organized it, and they pre-planned the violence. So that's since 2012, we have been hearing a lot about it on the news media. So what are the significant things happening since 2012 violence? Again, frequently there will be rape allegation, one town here, one town there, one city there, one city there. It's all same story. This is becoming a joke. International community no longer believe what they say, because they repeatedly happen allegation. And then what will they will attack mosque, they will burn the mosque, they will attack population, they will attack their households, and mass killings, and we even do not know where are the graves. Tropical rainforest, you name, you go there, take truckloads of dead bodies. You'll never find unless you're looking from the satellite from the sky. It's not like Middle East that you see the sand in the desert. And then this violence has created mass population movement to Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Bangladesh, to Middle East. And not only that, people moving out, also internal displacement. There are IDP camps now, internally displaced people of over 140,000 people. Right now as we speak, they are under dire condition right now. Here we do not see that because news blackout, journalists are blocked. They cannot get access to it freely. They have expelled NGOs, believe it or not. NGOs who are feeding these people, international NGOs, they were expelled. Look at this coincidence. Either a coincidence or something else. The Doctors Without Borders, MSF, was expelled by the government. 1 week, 6 days later, all the remaining NGOs from Europe and other countries were attacked by Rakhine Buddhist mobs. So government expulsion was one NGO followed by attack of NGOs by Buddhist mobs. So what's the connection? So NGOs are gone. People are starving. You won't believe if you can get the videotapes, video footages and pictures what's happening. We have a booth there downstairs. You can come and see our booth. You'll see the photos of children suffering. Look at the nationalism. The Burmese troops somewhere in Burma are training Buddhist monks how to shoot. So what happened? NGOs are gone, and then people are suffering, and people are still leaving again from IDP camps. They are trying to venture out to Thailand, Malaysia, and other places, and they end up getting caught into the ring of human trafficking. Women and underage girls are sold to sex slavery industry in southern Thailand, and men were taken to hard labors. That kind of thing is happening as of today because of this situation in IDP camps. After NGOs are expelled, there are a period of 4 or 5 months, there's no NGOs, people have terrible conditions. Now NGO has been slowly coming back from 30-something to NGO, now 11 NGOs. The government is claiming it's a big progress. Oh, NGOs are coming back. For 30 plus to 11, there's progress or regress. You judge. Then NGOs came back and there's something came. Government set up. ECC, Emergency Coordination Committee. Government formed a committee. That committee will keep the tab on these NGOs, where they can go, who they can feed, how they can, where they can be active. They are all controlled by ECC. You know who these ECC members are? The people who have attacked NGO and during the expulsion. And those people, the leaders, masterminds of those mobs, have become now ECC committee members. Situation is that complex. Hate speech. You go and look, just Google it, you will see monks saying things that, like boiling their bloods, Burmese, to attack Muslims. Hate speech. Now democracy in Burma. Burmese democracy is freedom of expression to hate and kill. That is the Burmese democracy we are seeing. That's what that democracy is all about. When it comes to Rohingya, there's freedom of speech. They can have hate language. And government is so weak now. The people who are ruling the country are the same people who ruled for 50 years. Now they say they have election. And they become all of a sudden very weak and public opinion, freedom of expression when it comes to Rohingya. Now hate speech, and worst thing is Burmese government labeling Rohingya people, the people of the region, for centuries as illegal Bengali immigrants. Came from Bangladesh illegally. So that what's the purpose? So that they can expel them to Bangladesh, that they're claiming that it came from, or marginalize them. Giving citizenship. What kind of citizenship? Naturalization citizenship? Class 2, class 3? These are all complex things I don't have time to explain here. So that's what's happened now. This Burmese government labeling Rohingya people as illegal Bengali immigrant is fueling the fire. It's not helping. You will go and see the government ministers and all talking about this. Each time they talk about it, there's attack. But they continue to do that. Census. As you know, you have read on internet, international community, United Nations and Europeans has given so much money to Burmese government to do a census. The census was, in census they made an agreement with the international community donor that all the ethnic minorities, all the people of Myanmar will be able to self-express themselves. And then when it came to the groundwork, they said no, Rohingya cannot say they are Rohingya. The United Nations got upset. You see, go on the webpage. They are furious. They signed this agreement. They reneged that agreement. So what's going to happen is, well, census right now, as I speak, they are telling Rohingya people, giving blank sheet, okay, tell me how many household members you have. And we are getting reports that they are writing those people as this Bengali. A latest report showing that the one city in Arkan state has the census took place and government declared these many Bengalis are here. So these are the situation. I want to see the situation on the ground. They are not yielding. They are not backing off. So we will not back off also. We will continue to confront this issue until Rohingya people are reinstated. The citizenship is reinstated for the Rohingya people as they have taken away. The army government, military government has caused this mess. And they have the responsibility to fix it. Don't go to democracy. Don't blame democracy. Now, when you have 1982 citizenship, there was no democracy. You made a law, a military law. Now all of a sudden, they are all about democracy. So critical issues right now, I want to have a couple of things I will mention here. First thing we are demanding the government in Myanmar is restatement of citizenship, bona fide citizenship to all Rohingya people. Estimated 1.5 million in Burma, estimated. And then accept the identity of Rohingya. Do not mislabel Rohingya somebody else. They are Rohingya and they need to be called Rohingya, they need to be recognized as Rohingya. There are major human rights violations. Rohingya cannot go to school. Rohingya couple cannot get married without permission. Rohingya, there's only one law for Rohingya, which is two-child policy among all the ethnic people in Burma. They cannot go to school, they cannot go to colleges, they cannot move from village to village without permission. These major human rights violations still continuing during this so-called democracy. That is the issue. Hate speech have got to stop. Myanmar government got to stop this hate speech. In the name of democracy, they are allowing the radical monks and ultra-nationalists, all these hardliners, to have the hate speech. So you are here. So what are we asking? What are we asking? What you can do for this cause, for a just cause? First thing is the pressure. International community putting pressure on Myanmar government seems to be working. It's not where we want to be. That's true. It is not there where we want to be, but Myanmar government is feeling the pinch. They're maneuvering. But one pressure, one country is not working. It has to be concerted efforts. but entire international community, for all the countries, all the community coming together, have one single voice, one issue, talking to Myanmar government, and we will not give them room to maneuver. It has to be pressure, has to be mounting more, coming from all directions. Then we will see some changes. Otherwise, they are going to play games. They will go to their original ethnic place. So what else you can do? You are a congressman. Okay. In America, you contact your congressman. We have House Resolution 418 has been passed with all the folks who got the help from them. Unanimously passed in the United States House. Rohingya Resolution 418. So now we have one coming in the Senate. We are working on it. Please call your senators for this, to support this upcoming in the resolution in US Senate. Rohingya people want you to spread this message. We are not getting this message spreading enough to the international community. A lot of folks, even Muslim community, does not know who Rohingya are, what's happening in Myanmar. So you can help us spread the message through all the means you may have. Words of mouth, talking in your community, talking in your masjid, on internet, all kind of things. In Facebook, Twitter, all information need to be dispersed more. That will help tremendously. And to conclude my appeal to international community, I will repeat government of Myanmar 3 times, which is pivotal to this issue. They are saying Rakhine, Buddhist. They are just tools. Rakhine people are enjoying this, they are nationalists, but government is using them as a tool for their ethnic cleansing. The government created the mess, government can fix it if they have the willpower. Each time they pressure not something, they push towards Rakhine, oh, we have to make Rakhine have to agree with this. And Rakhine Buddhists has to agree with anything government makes a decision, like Rakhine Buddhists are ruling the country. If they want to resolve this issue, what the government of Myanmar need to do is come to the center, be an honest and true and honest facilitator for peace, start a dialogue between Rakhine, I call it tripartite dialogue, Rakhine, Rohingya, Rakhine Buddhists and Rohingya Muslim and government of Myanmar sitting together, and if they are coming to the center without favoring Rakhine Buddhists as a true facilitator, honest facilitator, and start the peace process, I think we can achieve that goal. But it's up to Myanmar government. If they want to do it, international community is ready to help to bring the peace to our current state. Thank you very much.
Allah has chosen Rohingyas for most repressive tests. But one thing good that He has given them is a wonderful spokesperson. Dr. Barkaruddin, he has addressed the Canadian Parliament, he has addressed European Union, he has addressed the Foreign Ministers Conference of the OIC, and very eloquent, and he's a frequent visitor to State Department, White House, and our Congress here, and he has eloquently, effectively conveyed the cause of Rohingyas. So I will request now Ambassador Ufuk, who is Ambassador to United Nations from OIC, Organization of Islamic Conference. He was born in Turkey, and we are very blessed to have a wonderful spokesperson there in the United Nations.
Thank you very much. Let me start by saying Assalamu alaikum. It is late hour of the day. You have heard the situation from Dr. Wakar. We are talking about a very, very serious situation, a human rights crisis, a humanitarian crisis, which is almost forgotten by the world for so many years, which came to the attention of the international community. In a way, awareness was rising, but still the challenges continue, and in certain aspects the humanitarian suffering is getting worse. So I'm really thankful for the inclusion of this topic in this event, because Rohingya people need the support of all OIC member states, but also of the Ummah, especially from the brothers and sisters who are living in the Western countries, not only in terms of humanitarian assistance, but in terms of political pressure on the decision makers. Because as Dr. Vakar said, that at the end of the day, without international pressure on this issue, we will not achieve anything, and Rohingya plight will not end, and Rohingya people will not get their rightful place as equal citizens of Myanmar. So we are talking about an issue, a dire human rights situation, which so clearly reflects for me the double standards in the application of human rights internationally. And I would like to explain this a little bit more, but I should also, at the beginning, clarify staunch commitment, support of the OIC leadership, OIC Secretariat to this cause. If you look at the press release from the United Nations yesterday, and from the OIC issued yesterday, regarding the bilateral meeting between the OIC Secretary General Iyad Medeni and UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon in Bali, on the margins of the Alliance of Civilizations Forum yesterday, you will see that the situation in Myanmar and plight of Rohingya was identified by both Secretaries General as the #1 topic of the discussion. Dr. Vakar knows very well, we wouldn't have imagined this a few years ago, especially before 2012. So in this regard, OIC is committed, but we have got also challenges. Due to my position in the OIC, I cannot go into details of challenges, but we should know that we need unity among the OIC member states. We need unity among the public opinion of the Muslim world. And we need solidarity with the Rohingya people, and we have to try to do our best at the international level by moving the mechanisms available. But for that, first of all, we need a common voice within the OIC members. What I'm trying to say, I'm very carefully trying to allude the divergences of approaches. And what I mean is actually coming from the Southeast Asia, the OIC membership from ASEAN. We have got 3 member states there, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Brunei. And they have got certain relationship with Myanmar within ASEAN. They have got their principles under the framework of ASEAN mechanisms. But as OIC member states, we have to do better to come up with a common position and common strategy and common voice. Rohingya issue will require long-term efforts, including the most important issue, which is the citizenship. So we have to really get ready for a long-term effort. And we have to know the situation very well. We have to know who Rohingya are. We have to know their issues. We have to know the intricacies. And we have to exert efforts vis-a-vis all the member states. One of the intricacies which is very important to understand is that when we talk about the plight of Rohingya, we are not talking about a relationship between a government and a minority. We are talking about intercommunal relationship as well. Relationship between Rohingya and Buddhist community, but at the same time we are talking about relationship with the local government and union government, and also between the local government, Rakhine State, and union government. So there are so many intricacies and complexities, and we have to know these issues, these intricacies, otherwise we will not identify the real issues and real problems. Dr. Vakar talked about the international pressure. Certainly, international pressure is necessary, and it should be accompanied engagement, positive engagement with the Myanmar government, because alone international pressure will not work to a government which is at the process of democratization and which still maintains many features of being an undemocratic military regime. So the democratization process is not complete yet. Maybe it is just at the initial stage. At this level, certainly engagement is very important. But what I observed in my engagement in this issue is that international pressure was lifted too early for the sake of supporting democratization in Myanmar. We are seeing this in our daily life at the United Nations when we exert efforts on this issue. But when it comes to the position of the United States, I should underline that the recent adoption of the important resolution at the US Congress was very important. And it really put lots of value to the international pressure. Dr. Wakar also mentioned about the issues of census and verification. What I should say here is that the approach of the government to the international community and to Rohingya community on these issues really created and entrenched the lack of confidence vis-à-vis the pledges and attitudes of the government. So we have to deal with that as well. Here, I would like to touch upon some other challenges. I see that there's a big gap of understanding between the Buddhist and Muslim communities in Myanmar. Though I should underline that when the incident started in 2012, we were not dealing really with religious confrontation, but the danger is the way it is being handled. We are not facing a dangerous potential religious confrontation which might have spilled over in the region, including in places like Sri Lanka. What is making things worse is the lack of sincerity and commitment on the part of government towards seeing Rohingya as citizens and people and human beings. That is really, I think, posing a big challenge. Government should also be serious in ensuring rule of law and swiftly punish the criminals regardless of race and religion. We have a big challenge in this. What I should say here is that cross-religion understanding and interfaith dialogue is crucial, but this will take long. And certainly, interfaith action will not deliver the necessary results if human rights aspect is forgotten. So from one side, through human rights work at the United Nations Fora, at the Human Rights Council, at the General Assembly, we should continue our work, but at the same time, engagement with the government and work through interfaith dialogue, we should support this process. Now, I think I will stop here. Maybe at the end, you might have some time for questions. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, now is the time. Yeah, we will have for your brother, former Congressman Tom Bruce, who has been heading the United to End Genocide.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. It is a great honor for me to be here and to address you tonight, and I just want to say that what you have heard from these two distinguished gentlemen to my right is absolutely correct. There's been no exaggeration whatsoever as far as the misery and the brutality that is a living reality of Rohingya citizens in Rakhine State in Burma. And what I want to say, and much of the territory I was going to cover, that I often will cover with audiences who aren't familiar with what's going on in Burma and in Rakhine State, I want to focus instead on some of my personal experiences there. I run this organization called United to End Genocide. And our purpose is to create a political constituency who cares about the fact that there are people who are living in the world who are facing genocide. That the precursors of genocide are clearly visible, or that genocide is underway. And that we as a people in the United States and around the world have a moral obligation to stand up and do something about it, particularly since time and time again in our history, when we have had an opportunity as a world community to stand up and stop this utter brutality, we have failed. And as a former member of the United States Congress, and as someone who was in political office when some of these atrocities occurred, I became convinced that what was necessary was to build this constituency and make sure that when these atrocities happen, that members of the United States Congress and public officials around the world begin to hear from citizens who care and share the view that we as a world have a moral obligation to stand up and say, no, no, we will not tolerate this atrocity. Now, I went over to Burma because I wanted to see for myself what was going on. And I went to Rakhine State, and I went to one of the IDP camps that I call concentration camps, because that's what I think they are. 140,000 people forced into these barrack-like situations in which they have no right to move from one to the other. They can't work, they can't marry. They barely have enough food, there's no education for their children. And I spent several days going through these camps and talking to these people and their families. Desperation everywhere I looked. When they heard I was a member of the United States Congress, and I heard this more than once, they said, will you please help us, America? And if you're unwilling to help us, will you please bomb these camps? Because that will be better than the hell that we're living in every day today. And I left, and I was in Rangoon. I was traveling. I went to Mandalay and Migdala. I traveled to other parts of Burma in which Muslims are under attack. The violence in Mandalay 2 months ago, during that violence, a man who I had come to know, I had met, and we had had tea together, we had dined together, I had met his friends and family. We worked on these very issues. How can we bridge these gaps between people? And he was murdered by a mob on his way to the mosque for early morning prayers. Murdered by a mob that was incited by these falsities, these false rumors. I returned to the camps when I learned that the government of Burma had announced that the only source of health care for these people was going to be denied. And I revisited those very camps and those very families and those very villages. And I met people whose lives depended upon the health care that was no longer available. I remember talking to a man who was suffering from an infection. He was weak, he was gaunt, and he was literally standing outside of the Doctors Without Borders clinic that had been shuttered. And the medicine that would keep him alive was locked up inside in a medicine chest with a padlock. And he worried about his wife. And he worried about his 5 children. And when I returned to that village 2 months later, I mourned with his wife and his 5 children, the senseless loss of their father and their husband. A toddler burning with fever, held by a mother who was desperate for medicine to help her child, and there was no medicine to be had. A man with asthma who showed me his medication and the fact that his breathalyzer and his other medication would run out in 10 days and there was nothing else for him, no other medication available for him, and he wanted to know what he and his family were going to do. This was the brutal reality faced by real people with real families, and I was very, very concerned that the people of the United States and the United States Congress, my former colleagues, understood the gravity of the situation and tried to imagine themselves in this situation with their families. And so I took a camera, I recorded my interviews, I met with many of these people, and I sent them to Washington. And we helped to draft a resolution before the House Foreign Affairs Committee. And a bipartisan group of members took that resolution to the floor of the House of Representatives, and they displayed the pictures of the very people I'm describing to you now on the floor of the House. And it's not very often that I can tell you that the United States Congress puts aside their partisan differences and comes together in a united effort to support anything, but they did in this case. And I can tell you in 2 weeks the United States Senate will have a resolution before it as well. We need to take this action. We need to take this action. But we need to do much, much more. And I know we're very... Do I have a few more minutes? Okay. You know, it's so important for citizens to raise their voice in so many ways. We can sign a petition. I think I just blew it. I've got my papers on this computer. Let me see if I can find it. No, I can't. Well, anyway, we have... I'd like to invite you to go to our website, endgenocide.org, and I would invite you to sign a petition that we are circulating. There it is right there. I have some cards for you if you don't want to jot it down. I can give it to you before you leave. But endgenocide.org, protect the Rohingya. And the reason this is so important is because despite the House resolution, despite the Senate resolution, despite the firm bipartisan support that we have, our Secretary of State was in Burma 2 weeks ago, and he wouldn't even utter the name Rohingya for fear of offending the sensibilities of the government. The President of the United States is going to return to Burma in November of this year. He was there in November of 2012. And the President of Burma, Thein Sein, made 11 commitments to the President of the United States, face to face, and said, we will fulfill these commitments, including the commitment of allowing the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights to open up a permanent office in Burma and have ready access to those areas that are under siege and people that are being threatened and murdered. President Thein Sein has come through with only one of those 11 commitments. 10 failed commitments made face-to-face with the President of the United States. Now, we as an organization stood up and we asked the President of the United States to take action when the Yazidis were under attack in a mountaintop in northern Iraq. 30 to 40,000 who are going to be massacred. And we praised the President and we rejoiced when he took principled action and defended those people from certain death. Well, if the President can stand up and take strong, indeed, military action to protect the Yazidis from certain death, why can't the President of the United States stand up to the rulers of Burma and say, we as a nation and we as an international community will not tolerate the systematic murder of innocent men, women, and children by this government by the denial of health care? And we are going to roll back the sanctions that were lifted. We're going to exert diplomatic, political, and economic pressure until justice is done. That's who we as a country are about at our best. And the fact of the matter is that there is no domestic pressure on the government of Burma from within Burma. It's going to have to come from outside. And the United States is in a critical position to provide critical leadership, as the ambassador said, in making that happen. But it doesn't stop there. I had the privilege of meeting MPs, former colleagues who I'd worked with in the past, from throughout Southeast Asia, from throughout ASEAN countries. And they formed an association that wants to develop and promote human rights among ASEAN countries. And they've identified the struggle and the persecution of the Rohingya as one of their very top priorities for this year. And so we're going to be working together as members of parliaments and former members of parliaments to advance this issue and make sure that the people of ASEAN, the United States, Europe, and other nations of the world recognize what's going on. We can no longer afford to turn our back on this misery, on this murder, on this atrocity. Because if we do, it is on our conscience. We are responsible because we know the truth. Because of the work of the people that on this panel have said, we know the truth. And together, we will put that truth to work and we will save the Rohingya people. Thanks so very, very much.
Thank you, Congressman, for your passionate leadership in this direction. We had said long back, never again, but it happens again and again. 25 years ago, we were challenged by a similar situation in Bosnia. So there was ethnic cleansing, and we were trying to convince our people that they have to come out and they have to protest and so on. So one young Muslim activist in America, he organized Bosnian task force. This was the largest demonstration we had in Washington, D.C. So you have an answer here from the Muslim community. Imam Malik Mujahid, he organized 25 years ago that Bosnian task force and a rally in Washington, D.C., which ultimately moved not only Muslims, everybody, and the government in Washington, D.C., which ultimately resulted in the final involvement and resolution. So we have the honor of inviting Imam Malik Mujahid to tell us how he is going to address. He has already established this task force for Rohingya, Burmese task force. But how are you going to respond and work closely with Congressman Common Rules?
That's very easy. We're sending back to the Congress. Well, thank you so much. It's not easy to talk about this issue in America because if it is not on TV, it doesn't exist. Are you with me on that? Yeah. If it's not on TV, it doesn't exist. Yes. Now, I'm very thankful to Islamic Society of North America for organizing on a topic which is not the hot topic, just will not attract a huge number of crowd. And not only that, requesting Sayyid Muhammad Saeed, ISNA was going down like this, and this young man, can I say that? Don't show your birth certificate anywhere. He brought it back and it started going up. So thank you so much, Saeed Bhai, for organizing this panel. There are few people, but very important people in this audience. I know a person, if there was a television for Muslim in this country, he had one. Nora, before anybody else was talking about it, Nora was on this issue. The largest relief organization Muslim have established their person. So some of the key people are in the audience. And I can see people who mobilized Toronto, mobilized Detroit and whatnot, they are here. So this thing is not on TV, but there are many good causes which cannot get the attention of television. But relying on your personal resolve that this is what you are going to focus on, you can achieve results, and we have seen some of that. So I will try to achieve three things. First, a different take on this tragedy. Second, some common connection with other tragedy which this one has. And third, what you as an individuals can do. And I will have 10 minutes for me, and I will request you to give me 10 minutes a day, if you can, for discuss. Okay. Burma, there are Rohingyas are just one ethnic group of Muslims. There are many other. There used to be about 5-6 million. Now there are 3 million left, among them 1.5 million Rohingyas. They are living, they are indigenous people living in their ancestral land, period. Proof of that is these four governments. Government of, in 1948 to 58, the first government after independence recognized them as citizen and an ethnic group, indigenous group. Caretaker government in 58 to 60 recognized that as a citizen and indigenous group. Civilian government again in 1960 to 62 recognized. Even the revolutionary so-called 1962 to 72 recognized them as citizens and groups. Official encyclopedia published by the government in 1962 recognizes them ethnic group of Burma. So this one thing. Second thing, Islamophobia is a public policy in Burma, as it is happening in many other countries. There are 12 laws marvelously documented by Tom Smith is his name, if I remember correctly, in 45 Rights. 12 laws, and he has Burmese language and translation available. This is the only president of any country in the modern world which has called all Rohingyas to be transferred to another country. If someone wants to go to international court, documentation is needed by the government for genocide, and this will be the first submission that the president of the government has called elimination of the people, and he has not been taken on the task. This is the first satellite documented. There have been many genocides, but probably this is the first satellite documented genocide in human history. Look at this thriving people. All the houses, full of life if you go deep. All these ashes, burnt to ground through satellite. You see full thriving community? Here is gone. Another thriving community, and look at that. These dots are Human Rights Watch, which has pointed out houses of those Rohingya people which has been destroyed. Now they are exporting this. These two persons, one, the shorter one from Burma, and so-called monk, he is in Sri Lanka dealing with the person who is doing the similar things there. There have been 36 attacks, organized mob attacks on Muslims in Sri Lanka, and 24 mosques have been destroyed there. But there are good Buddhists who are speaking up, not only the Dalai Lama himself, but many other Buddhists. Throughout the world, in America, they have issued a joint statement. So Muslims who are subject to generalization, one person does something wrong among 1.5 billion people, all of us are portrayed in one way. We must be extremely careful when we talk about other human beings, in this case Buddhists. Buddhists and Muslims have no long history of conflict. This gives me a confidence. There is no crusade, there is no blood like that. That gives me confidence that ASEAN, which is almost 50% Buddhist and 50% Muslims, they can work with each other to suppress this modern racism and nationalism which is turning people against each other. And the second point which I like to make is connections. What these people are being called, they are being called foreigners. Bengalis, and there are no Rohingya. Rohingya doesn't exist. Who says Rohingya was ever there? There's nothing called Rohingya, and unfortunately, the Secretary of State has bought into it. He's not mentioning that. This is something which Muslims are told everywhere. In Assam, India, in last year and a half, 500,000 Muslims have been kicked out of extremely fertile land. What were they called? They were called, they are foreigners. Central African Republic, before there were atrocities, when French with 350 Tarzans landed in Central African Republic, ethnic cleansing started with Desmond Tutu, may God bless him with good health, was the only one who called its genocide happening there. What were they called in Central African Republic? They were called foreigners. Dehumanize before you kill them. They are called terrorists. In each one of these places, they don't have enough to eat. Much less they come up with something to make anything. So this is in Burma. Now I will come to conclusion. And that's where is, what is it which we can do? So the positive role United States has played, it was President Obama who knows how to use words, but once in a while he gets courage to say those things in the most difficult place. So first time he lands there at the university, he said, Rohingya hold within themselves the same dignity as you do and I do. Congressman will all be satisfied if he just repeats the same thing publicly. Just to keep it alive, because the main effort is to delete the word Rohingya, which Congress has gone, which Secretary of State has gone for. I hope he builds on himself instead of building on the Secretary Carey. And there is no other elected official, elected representative body anywhere in the world except the House of the United States, which has spoken as a resolution 418 about it. So this is where we need to build on. So Burma Task Force is an alliance of, not only Rohingya organization, but ISNA is the constituent member, along with CARE and many other regional organizations. Muslims have too many causes. So if you are focused on any cause, remain focused, will make dua and tell us what we can do for you. But if you do not have a cause, I will request you, you adopt a cause. There are many causes, but there are many of us also. Just pick up a cause. Our campaign is give 10 minutes to stop genocide in Burma. How you are going to use that 10 minutes? We tell you every week what you can do that week. It's literally 10 minutes. If you can get an hour, great. If you can give 1 week, we have several volunteers who give substantial amount of time. But all we are asking is, give 10 minutes, and every week we are going to share with you how you are going to use. So this is a 10-minute campaign, and this 10-minute campaign have been able to help with the resolution 418, in which many organizations participated, but we have delegation after delegation in many states turning in people who are willing to, oh, put my name in there, put my name in there. So 53 congresspersons became co-sponsors because 10-minute campaign was working. Second thing, media used to say it's a violence, it's a riot, and it's a fight between Muslim and Hindu. Utter nonsense. There was nothing like that in Burma. It is just extremist people attacking a minority and police standing by and doing nothing. That's the whole thing which starts. Of course, it starts always with a rumor. The victim is always to be believed that, oh, he started it, then I have to punch on his nose. I mean, that's how they try to describe it, but that's media no longer. It literally requires hundreds of people, several thousand letters, and our conversation. Third thing, there are good people, good Buddhists, who are under pressure, who have stood up in some right situation, that if you're going to come in monastery, attack this Muslim, you will have to kill me first. These good people need to be strengthened. I cannot share what we are doing to do that, but this is a major area in which Buddhists and Muslims need to work to save the whole ASEAN area, where Muslim and Buddhists have no history of conflict. It's just all recently made of things. It can be turned around. And those good people, Buddhists, let us know that it is about to come or it has started. And that's where we go, our 10-minute campaign, which goes directly to the Burmese government, and at least also goes to the State Department, and many, many things happen, and we believe that few times we have been able to successfully stop. So we have a booth in the bazaar, we have action alert here. Right now the action item is President Obama is going to be in Burma in November. We don't want him to go there not to build what he said before. Are you with me?
Yes.
All I need is 10 minutes. Your tweet, your Facebook message, you're writing to him, and you're meeting people who can influence him. Thank you so much.
That was very valuable time. You know that we have been actually prompted by this challenge to get deeper into Islam and Buddhist relations. We have established now relationships with various Buddhist expressions here in America, and we have, naturally they have condemned it, because the very picture of these monks getting involved and destroying and killing people, it's a shame. It's just like we as Muslims in America have totally condemned and distanced ourselves from what's happening in the Muslim world in various ways, whether it is terrorism, whether it is death and destruction in the name of religion. Exactly that's happening with respect to Buddhism as well. Books are being written, researches are being made, conferences are being held by Buddhists and Muslims together to express the relationship and the dialogue between the two faith groups. So we'll have to conclude now, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us and help us to be of direct relevance and help in stopping this genocide.